Now, I also want to talk about one other topic and then maybe not address it again because I hate to give these guys any publicity. But I think it's kind of funny, and I think I'll talk about it a little bit because I get a lot of emails now. I mentioned on Friday's program that the Peter Schiff, the guy that makes all the anti-Peter Schiff videos, made a point that I wanted to address because I thought it was a very silly argument, and I thought it was entertaining that my idea that the increase in the supply of money has nothing to do with the increase in the price of oil. And it's just such a laughable thing that I wanted to bring it up. And, of course, that was like waving a red flag at a bull because this guy, and I think it's one guy that has all these sites, although maybe it's two guys, and there's like 4 or 5 or 6 of these sites, but, comes up with a whole bunch of videos jumping all over this thing. And I get emails from people, and they say, why don't you sue these guys? Why do you let them? And so I figured I'd get into it a little bit about the rationale. And it doesn't mean that I won't one day do it. I mean, certainly, the what they're doing amounts to defamation. It amounts to libel. And here's why. You can't go out and maliciously try to discredit somebody with information that is inaccurate. Now, what do these guys allege that is inaccurate? Well, they allege that I'm a lousy investor, I'm a lousy stock picker, that I'm broke personally, that I've lost all my money, that I've lost all my clients, all their money, that in fact I'm a fraud, that I'm a criminal, and that I'm probably going to go to jail. Now, these are the things that they're saying. So obviously, this is very malicious. And the question is, well, is there any truth to it? Well, because in order for something to be liable or somebody to be, for me to prevail in a defamation lawsuit, it has to be false. And there's a higher standard with me, too, because I'm a public figure. Well, of course the information is false. It isn't even close to being true. They have no evidence whatsoever that I'm broke, that I've lost all my money, that I've lost my clients all of their money. In fact, the funny thing is, the only evidence that they potentially say that they have is they have a brokerage statement that was sent to a blogger in December, or January of 2009 by one of my clients. And that particular client, according to the blogger, his portfolio was down 61%. Now, this person started their account near the highs of the market, and of course, near the lows of the market, they were down 61%. Now, I think the overall stock market was maybe down about 50% during that time, 40 to 50%. I'm not sure exactly. And he was down 61%, and that is the proof that I've lost all my clients all their money and they don't know what they're doing. Well, it was one thing to have made that claim back then in January of 2009, but given that this is April of 2011, and we know what's happened since, you certainly cannot base that statement now on that account. Now, of course, you never could because that was one client. And again, I'm talking here now not about past performance, which of course doesn't guarantee future results, and I'm not going to get into specific performance. I'm talking about this from a legal point of view. Is this defamation? Is this libel? Now, if you take a look at that portfolio, anybody can see it. In fact, it's still up on the internet. There were 15 stocks in that portfolio. Of those 15 stocks, 10 of them were resource stocks. There were 3 gold stocks, 1 silver stock, 1 base metal stock, and 5 energy stocks. 67% of the portfolio was mining and energy. Now, that's a very big weighting. Obviously, that's what this particular client wanted because all the accounts are different. But if you go to that period of time, between mid-2008 and the end of 2008, the gold and silver stock index, the Huey, was down 70%, and the energy stock index, the oil services, was down 70%. So those 2 indexes got killed. What have they done since? Well, since the lows, the gold stock index is up 400%, and the oil index is up 300%. Anyway, let me go and continue this conversation after the break. Don't go away. You're listening to The Peter Schiff Show on SchiffRadio.com.
We now now return to the Peter Schiff Show.
Call in now, 855-4-SCHIFF.
That's 855-472-4433.
Rebel Radio, the Peter Schiff Show.
This is Peter Schiff on SchiffRadio.com. Welcome back, everybody. And before the break, I was discussing the Peter Schiff YouTube haters and their slanderous or libelous clips that they make. And anyway, in order for you to be guilty of defamation, you have to have a malicious intent, which clearly that is. The intent is to malign my character and my credibility in my profession. And it has to be false, which clearly it is. Again, their only evidence that they have to prove that I've lost all my money is an account that actually proves the exact opposite of that. Anyway, this account that was featured back then that is still up on the internet showing the 61% decline. Again, it has 15 stocks, 10 of which are mining and energy stocks. Now, it's not rocket science for these guys to take those 15 stocks and figure out what's happened to them since and whether or not this particular client is up, down, or I'm not going to say what he is because, again, I'm trying to dance around the regulators, but they can figure it out. And, I know it's a little difficult, so maybe I'll make it a little easier for them because there's three things you got to understand. Two of the stocks in there were bought out. They don't exist anymore. They were energy stocks. So I guess I can mention these stocks because they don't exist anymore. One of them was Singapore Petroleum and doesn't exist. And another one was Harvest Energy, which is a Canadian energy trust, which doesn't exist. So they were bought out for cash. They were bought out at prices much higher than the prices in this statement, but lower than the original cost basis. But what they need to do if they want to figure out where this particular client would be, they should assume that the money was reinvested in similar stocks. What they could do maybe is take the other three energy stocks that are already in the portfolio and just split the money among those three. That's what I did personally. I own both of those stocks myself that got bought out. And when I got my cash, I simply reinvested them in similar stocks to maintain my energy exposure. After all, I didn't want the cash. When these stocks got bought out, I wasn't happy about it because I knew that they were being bought out at a low price. Although it was good because the stocks did jump and it gave me a chance to take the cash and simply move it over into other stocks that didn't get bought out. So in that respect, it still might have been a good thing. Although, one of those stocks, I think Singapore Petroleum, had it not been bought out, would just be in the stratosphere right now. But anyway, it got bought out, and, we did move it. But you could just assume that I moved it into the other stocks that are in there, that are in the energy category. Two of them also were Canadian energy trusts, so they can buy those. Then there was another stock that was bought out for shares of another stock, and this was a silver stock. And I don't know. I guess I could say the name of it because I didn't actually recommend it into this portfolio, but it got acquired. But I want to make it easier for these guys just in case they're that clueless. So this stock became Silver Wheaton. All right. So that silver stock that doesn't exist anymore, it doesn't exist not because it went to zero, but because it's now Silver Wheaton. So they can obviously take this portfolio and figure out where it would be today, right? And if they really want to do the right thing, they got to get all the dividends too, because a lot of these stocks paid really big dividends, and then they got to try to figure that out. But if they actually did that, then even the account that they have, the only account that they have to try to say that I'm a complete failure and I'm a fraud and I've lost all my money, the only account they have proves the exact opposite of that. Now, again, I'm not saying anything about my performance, but the thing is, why don't I sue them? Because obviously, if I went to court, if I go to court, I'm not bound by FINRA rules. I can go to court and I can show exactly how I've done personally. I can show exactly how maybe all my clients have done. I'm not bound by these rules in a court of law. So I can prove, that what they're saying is false, and I can prove that it is malicious. Now, what are the damages? Well, obviously there are some, because when people are searching for me on the internet and they're thinking about becoming a client of mine, they might come across some of these things that say Peter Schiff is a fraud, Peter Schiff is broke, Peter Schiff has lost all of his clients all their money. It's possible that there are people who are not investing with me today because they read or saw this false information that is being disseminated by this individual or individuals. And so there are damages. The question is, how do you exactly quantify them? But one of the bigger problems is I don't know who they are. See, they don't say who they are. I think I know, but do I have 100% proof? You can't sue somebody unless you know who they are because you have to serve them. So I'd have to sue YouTube first to get them to disclose, and that's a bigger fish. Do I want to battle YouTube? I mean, I do. I get a lot of business probably. I have my own YouTube channel. I got about 40,000 subscribers. What if YouTube were to shut me down because I'm suing them? So and they've certainly got resources. It could take a lot of my effort to try to get YouTube to develop the information. The reason I say I think I know who the person is there's not that many people that it could possibly be. Because first of all, I mean, you got to be a complete and total loser to make all these videos. I mean, first of all, you got to listen because the guy comments on every single show that I do. So you got to have 2 hours a day to just listen to my show, and then you got to watch all my TV appearances, and then you got to make these things. And then sometimes the comments, sometimes his descriptions are paragraphs. Sometimes he writes a book. I mean, so who would have this kind of free time? I mean, you'd have to be a complete and total loser. Also, I mean, you have to really be obsessive. You have to be totally obsessed with me. So you'd have to have a reason to be obsessed. So you'd have to, maybe somehow you are jealous of me or you're upset. Something happened to you, maybe being associated with me, that really got you angry and obsessive and compulsive. So you got to be obsessed, you got to be jealous, you got to be a complete and total failure and a loser. There's not that many people that fit this description that I know. That's why, but I don't think that's enough to simply file a lawsuit. Now, if the individual is so convinced that what he's saying is right, then step up, claim credit, put these things under your own name, and then I will sue you, and then you have an opportunity. But the other problem is, even if I win, there's the expression, you can't get blood from a stone. Remember, this guy is a complete loser and has no money. So even if I get a judgment, I'm not going to get paid. And, of course, it's going to cost me money to file an action. And I got money, so I don't care about the cost. What I'm more concerned about is my time. Do I really want to spend my time on it? Now, maybe I'd get a cease and desist order and they wouldn't make him anymore. But to be honest with you, it doesn't really bother me. Even though I mention it once in a while, it doesn't bother me. And my advice is to the people who are watching these videos, because there's only like 100 or 200 people. I have a feeling that most of them are my fans that just want to see the nonsense. Just stop watching them. That way he'll have even fewer views and even fewer reasons to make them, because there's hardly anybody that looks at these things. So let's not give him any credit, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. And so if you're watching them, and he doesn't even let you comment. You can't even comment on it because they're all disabled and they're all edited. So there's no point. The only comments that are allowed are the negative comments about me. No positive comments are allowed. So don't even waste your time. And again, I'm not going to say that there's no way that I would sue, because maybe one day I will decide to do it. And if I do sue, if I have the identity and I sue, there is no way that I will lose. Anyway, let me go back to the phones, or go to the phones and start taking some calls.